Hello and welcome back to Financial History TV. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, grabbing your phone, and seeing a breaking news alert that makes your stomach drop. Global debt crisis spirals out of control. Every nation now officially in the red. Not just struggling economies, not just developing nations. I'm talking about every major power on Earth. The United States, China, Japan, Germany, France, India, Brazil, Canada, all drowning in debt so massive, so historically unprecedented, that no expert can clearly explain how the modern financial system is still alive. And within hours, one question begins trending on social media, talk shows, and government roundtables. If every country is in debt, who are they in debt to? It sounds like a riddle. It feels like a paradox. But it's the question that exposes the deepest, most overlooked truth in global finance. Debt isn't just money. Debt is power. And when every nation is drowning in it, the real power belongs to the people who don't need governments at all. Today, on Financial History TV, we're going to peel back centuries of economic history, decode ancient financial systems, expose the structure behind modern debt, and finally answer one of the most important questions of our era. When every nation is in debt, who truly holds the power? Stay with me, because this story spans 5,000 years, and it ends with a truth the modern world is not prepared for. Let's start with the most shocking fact in modern economics. Global debt doesn't exist to be paid back. It exists to keep the system running. Today, the world owes more than $300 trillion. That's over 3 times the size of the entire global economy. Let me give you perspective. If every country took every dollar, every paycheck, every corporate profit, every national budget, and put it all toward debt, we still couldn't pay it. This isn't a glitch. This is the system. Debt fuels government budgets, military expansion, social programs, infrastructure projects, consumer spending, technological development, global trade. The world doesn't grow because it's productive. It grows because it borrows. But there's a fatal flaw. Eventually, the bill becomes too large for the illusion to hold. And that's the moment we're inching toward today. But to understand how we got here, we have to go back to the beginning, to the first societies that learned the most dangerous secret of all. Debt gives rulers more power than taxation ever could.
The first recorded debts weren't dollars or coins, they were grain. In ancient Sumer, people borrowed grain from temples, not banks. If your harvest failed, you borrowed more. If disaster struck, you borrowed again. Over time, farmers didn't just owe grain, they owed their freedom. Children were taken as collateral. Families were enslaved by interest alone. This ancient system got so out of control that kings had to invent something radical. Debt forgiveness, a jubilee, a royal decree that said all debts are canceled, everyone returns home, no one owes anything. Why? Because if they didn't cancel the debts, the entire society would collapse into rebellion. Sound familiar? Debt crises are not modern. They are the oldest economic cycle in human history. But what came next shaped every empire to come.
Let's fast forward a few thousand years. Think of the greatest empires that ever existed. Rome, Spain, France, the British Empire. All were powerful. All were wealthy. All had unstoppable armies. And every single one was destroyed by debt. Over and over, history teaches us no empire can outgrow its debt. The bigger the nation, the harder the fall. So why hasn't the modern world collapsed yet? Because modern nations discovered a trick ancient societies didn't have. After World War II, the United States made a decision that changed the global financial system forever. The US dollar would become the world's reserve currency. Let me translate that. The world now needed US dollars for trade, oil, global banking, international settlements, modern finance, economic stability. And the best way for nations to get dollars was simple: borrow them. Suddenly, Japan borrowed, Europe borrowed, emerging markets borrowed, corporations borrowed, consumers borrowed. Growth wasn't created, it was financed. This is the era of permanent debt. Debt doesn't go away, it rolls over. It expands. It becomes the bloodstream of the economy. But here's the twist modern governments don't want you to think about. The system only works as long as someone, somewhere, believes it will never collapse. What happens when belief fades? When trust fractures? When debt outgrows the ability to even pay the interest? We're about to find out. Let's take a snapshot of today's world. The U.S. national debt is over $35 trillion. Japan's debt is over 250% of its GDP. China hides trillions in local government liabilities. Europe faces aging populations and shrinking productivity. Developing nations are trapped between rising interest rates and shrinking growth. And for the first time in human history, every major nation is drowning in debt at the same time. This never happened in Rome. This never happened in the Middle Ages. This never happened in the 20th century. This is new. And it raises the big question, the question you're here for. If every country is in debt, who are they in debt to? Banks? Other governments? Investors? Corporations? The shocking answer is none of the above. Not in the way you think. Because the real power doesn't belong to lenders, or governments, or central banks. It belongs to someone far less visible, someone history has always rewarded. Let's break it down.
When nations borrow money, they create a promise, a claim, a piece of paper that says, "I owe you." Those pieces of paper circulate. Banks buy them, corporations hold them, pension funds invest in them, other countries purchase them, individuals own them through savings and retirement accounts. But here's the catch. Debt is not wealth. Debt is a claim on wealth. When the world collapses, those claims evaporate. So who wins? Not bondholders, not lenders, not even governments. History is clear. In every debt collapse, power shifts to those who own real, tangible, irreplaceable assets. Let's look at the categories. 1. Landowners. From Mesopotamian temples to medieval aristocrats to modern real estate giants. Land always survives debt collapses. You can default on a loan, but you can't default land out of.
7. What happens when the debt system breaks? If every country is in debt, logically, there are only two possible outcomes. Outcome 1, inflate the debt away. Governments can print money, lots of it. Inflation rises, currency value falls. Debt becomes easier to repay with weaker dollars. This is the quiet, slow-motion collapse. Historically common, economically devastating, politically convenient. Outcome 2, the global debt reset. The second outcome is dramatic. Debts get wiped out. A new currency is introduced. The old system is abandoned. A new order is built. This happened repeatedly after ancient debt jubilees, after Rome, after medieval collapses, after the French Revolution, after World War II, and after the fall of the Soviet Union. When systems break, the world resets. 8. So who truly holds the power?
Let's answer the big question as clearly as possible. When every nation is in debt, power does not belong to governments. Governments owe. They don't own. Power doesn't belong to central banks. They manage money, but they don't hold real assets. Power doesn't belong to the lenders. Loans go worthless in a collapse. So where does power go? It flows, always, to those who own what cannot be printed, inflated, hacked, or defaulted away. Land, resources, energy, infrastructure, technology, data, real-world production. These are the true anchors of power in a world drowning in debt. And the people and institutions who control them, quietly, patiently, strategically, will shape the next global era. Not because they lent the world money, but because they own the things money ultimately depends on. So what does all this mean for you, the viewer, the citizen, the individual living inside a global financial system that is reaching its breaking point? It means this: debt is not the real power. Currency is not the real power. Assets are the real power. History doesn't follow governments. It follows those who control essential value. The ancient world proved it. Every empire proved it. The modern global economy is proving it again. When the world's debts become too large to sustain, the financial system will shift, and the winners will be predetermined. They won't be the ones holding paper. They'll be the ones holding reality.
If you want more deep dives like this, stories that uncover the hidden forces behind global finance, the history they never taught in school, and the truths shaping our economic future, make sure you like this video, comment below, do you think a global debt reset is coming? And subscribe to Financial History TV. Check out our other videos for more powerful historical insights. Thanks for watching. This is Financial History TV, and I'll see you in the next episode.